everybody. Happy Mother's Day to all you mothers and grandmothers and everything out there. So hopefully everybody had a really nice day with their families. And I've been kind of hanging out at home doing some work. I enjoy Sundays because it's quiet. Usually it's pretty quiet here. It's actually been kind of rainy and dreary today. Making sure I got everybody. Oh, everything's working over here. So making sure everything's working over here. So how is everybody today? Everybody's starting to come in. Hi, everybody. So we're going to be working on, we're going to be doing the embroidery and the embellishments. Sorry, my nose itches. It's only on screen, right? Happy Mother's Day. Yep, happy Mother's Day. I just have a fur baby. I don't have any human babies. My fur baby is in the other room because she wanted to come up and sit in the middle of everything tonight. So no, we're gonna work on our Kimberbell Cutie tonight, and so this is the watermelon one, and we're gonna do some ruching. So the ruching is the little stuff around the watermelons. Now in the book, it tells you to do it a different way, and I'm going to tell you how I did it because I don't care for the way they did it. It was raw edge, and so then it was going to be all, trying to keep warm. It's actually quite cool outside, 56. It's quite cool outside today. So, but yeah, so this ruching in the book, they had you doing it like a raw edge embellishment, and I just didn't care for the raw edges, so I'll show you how I make ruching. It's very easy. Just takes a little time. You'll have to do a little sewing on the sewing machine, and then you have to gather it and I glue it on, but it's not hard. It just takes a little bit of time. So we're going to do some ruching, and we're going to do some embroidery. I'm going to do some embroidery. We're going to do one of the watermelons. And then we're going to do some of one of the ants, because I pre-did some of it because there were so many embroidery pieces on this one. So with all the ants and everything, I did part of it beforehand. Yeah, the ruching's really cool. And it's not hard. I do it partially with the sewing machine. I like to, in the ruching instructions I've had in the past, they had you hand stitching the ruching in, the gathering stitches, and I don't like to hand stitch, so I did it on the sewing machine, and it worked out really well. So people from all over the place. Hi, everybody. Got some new people tonight. I've had quite a few new people join in the last 3 weeks, so I'm glad people can come and join us even though it's Mother's Day. Sometimes I teach on Mother's Day and Father's Day, and sometimes I don't, just because I figure most people have a lot of their celebrations are over with by the evening anyway. So since a lot of people have to go to work tomorrow. So I'm so glad that everybody's here. Cool. All right. So anyway, so we're going to be working on, this is the June Kimberbell Cutie. So we're going to finish this up tonight. I did quilt this with the clear blue tiles quilting, and it was called Swirls. It's one of the ones that's in the clear blue tiles. So I used that for the quilting, and I did that on my second one also. And and then remember, we are going to have a drawing at the end of class. A second here, I'm going to lay this up here so I can see it, in case I need to look at something. And we're going to have a drawing at the end of class, and this week's drawing will be for this little pillow cover, and it's a real traditional size. It's 12 by 16, so you can easily get these little pillow forms. I think I get most of mine at Hobby Lobby. So this is 12 by 16, so you'll get the little sew pillow cover. So just the cover. I don't want to have to mail the pillow form. It's too big. So this I can fold up in an envelope. So this will be the drawing tonight. Will be the sew pillow cover. So, and it's pink on the back. I like pink. So it was pink. I had a bunch of these little scraps. I had a whole bunch of these little fabrics that all had this little swirl in them and a whole bunch of different colors. And so I put the pink on the back. So the pink and then the sew is done in that same fabric. So, all right. So that'll be the drawing. So make sure you say something in order to get in the drawing. So, and then next week will be our software class. So we're going to learn to do something from something we've already done. And we're going to make a pin cushion. So we're going to do this little pin cushion, and this will be next week's class in Perfect Embroidery Pro. So we're going to make the little pin cushion next week. Okay. And we're going to use the scatter carousel tool, but the scatter, and then some lettering. And then we're going to use a design that we've already made into something bigger and then make it into this smaller item. Okay. So that's what we're going to do next week. And then for Memorial Day, we'll have the weekend off. So we all can enjoy our hopefully long Memorial Day weekend, right? Yeah, the carousel tool is really cool, but they have several different like categories in it. And then this one's called scatter. So anyway, I thought it turned out kind of cute. So we're going to do that next week. All right, so I'm going to lay this over here so I can get it out of the way. Okay. So let me get the banner turned off. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the pin cushion too. I thought it turned out cute. It was just something fun. I thought it would be fun. All right, so let me turn off the banner, and I'm going to switch the camera over here. Get down here to the cameras. And, oops, I got to get the microphone turned over. Okay, so hopefully you can hear me. All right. Oh, yep. Lynn will be in Alaska for Memorial Day. She's going on a trip to Alaska. That'd be so cool. Yeah, it'll be a nice. I bet that'll be a beautiful trip. Okay, so what I did a few of these already, and I figured if you see, we've been doing these now for several months, and I figured if you saw me do it once, you would be fine. But this one's a little different in that there's the 4 corners, and I also put some of the ruching on it also. Now this one, I did not trim off my batting and backing, my extra batting and backing, because the design is a little bit larger for these corners, and you really you need to have at least an 8x8 hoop. I like to use the snap hoops for these, and my 8x8 snap hoop is not real strong. So this one does a lot of gyrating around and does a bunch of satin stitches and stuff. So I actually got my 9x9 out, and that's why I left the extra batting and backing on, just to give me a little bit more to grab onto with the hoop. Okay. Otherwise, you can always put it in a regular traditional hoop and just hoop it too. But this hoop, for some reason, my 8x8's always been a little bit not real strong. This one's real strong. I've never had any trouble with this one, so I use this one more. So, okay. Now, of course, the other thing we've done is, let me grab this back here. I always forget something. It's here somewhere. Oh, here we go. So, of course, I opened my design up in my software and put a piece of my print and stick target paper in my printer, and I printed out a template to help me out with this. So give me a second here to get a hold of it. So this is printed on my print and stick target paper. So here's my little watermelon, and then I put my my snowman sticker on the watermelon in the orientation it is on the screen. So if I show this to you on the screen, you'll see that this is the orientation that it needs to lay on the little table topper. Okay, so here's the snowman with the head, of course, facing upwards. Okay, and I printed that out on print and stick target paper. Now, if you don't have print and stick target paper, Floriani's is called oh golly, what's the name of it? They have a it's like a low tack paper that can go through the printer that is tacky so you can stick it on. And I like this real well because then you can use this over and over, and then it's got tacky on the back, and it sticks down nicely to the fabric. I did also we're going to use one for the ant also. So here's mine for the ant. I just printed that one on paper. So that one's just printed on regular paper because I didn't happen to grab a piece while I was working with it. So I did the ant later, and I didn't print it off at the same time. So anyway, this is printed on the print and stick target paper. Okay, so I've got this ready to go into my hoop, and we've done this before, so I think this is all going to look pretty familiar to you. I took my design that I printed off, and again, at the bottom of that, if you can see on the screen here, you can see this placement line. So the placement line, as we've said before, is actually for the placement of the bottom of the fabric, which is our 1/4 inch seam allowance down in here. So what I did is I cut off a 1/4 inch above that placement line. So the placement line was a 1/4 inch lower here, and I cut it off. So I could just lay it along my seam line, because of course our raw edge is in here a 1/4 inch down. Okay, if that makes sense. So we've done this with all of them. That way we didn't have to try to figure out that if we got it in the right spot. I just cut off a 1/4 inch above that placement line that's on the screen that I showed you. Okay. And then I've got I took my backing paper off, and I'm going to lay this in the corner the way it's, and you can tell that you've got it in there the right way. A second here. I'm going to lay it in the corner along my seam line for the border, and lay it down in there. Okay. And there is, second here, I got to move some stuff here. Template tearaway. Thank you, Lynn. I knew it was called template something, but I couldn't think of the worst. Yeah, template tearaway, and that's their tearaway like this that allows you to put it through the printer. But I've had the dime for a long time. So, and the reason I have a pin right here is I put the pin in there so that I would remember that that was where the last ant went, because I did all the other ants. Okay. All right, so we've got this put in here, and I've got the lower part of my hoop already installed in my machine. Okay. On this one, I'm going to be using matching bobbin thread. So remember, with all of these, since we're sewing through the backing like this, we're sewing through the back. I want it to be pretty on the back, so I put in my matching embroidery thread in my bobbin. In my case, since I'm not using a pre-wound bobbin, I have to use my standard. Oh, my ants. Yes, I still have ants. Oh my gosh. I don't know. It must be something to do with I hated to even sew them on the table topper, because I've had like ants everywhere around here this year. And I don't know if it's the weather, if it's the temperature, I don't know. It's weird. I've had so many ants. Small arrows for what are the small? Oh, okay. So the arrows here, I just put arrows on here so that I remembered that this is where it went in the corner. I just drew them on there just to remind me that that these edges go on the corners. Okay, that's what my arrows are for. So I still have ants. Donna asked me if I still had ants, and I do. They're getting better. I found that white vinegar and water really helps. It gets rid of them. So I've been slowly getting rid of them. But man, I tell you, they're those little itty bitty ones too. So, all right. So we've got this in here. I have my red embroidery thread in my bobbin. In my case, since I'm not using the pre-wound, that's what I started to say. I have my standard bobbin case in, the one with the green paint on the screw. Okay, so that's the standard bobbin case since I wound my own bobbin. And I have a number 11 needle in the bobbin, or in the machine, a number 11 embroidery needle. And I have the red embroidery thread in the needle. Okay, now I am going to have to switch my thread. I'm going to switch my thread because I have just a little bit left on this. I'm trying to get rid of it, and it should take care of the placement line and the tack down line. So I'd kind of like to get that spool thread used up. I've been trying to get it used up today, and it didn't quite get done. So, all right. So we are going to hoop this. Let me find my hoop here. Now be sure with your magnetic hoops, if you're using the dime magnetic hoops, that these little notches here, those two notches go on the inside, okay, on the inside edge right here. So just be careful that you have these hoops put in here correctly, okay. I think I'm going to have to move my pin up just a little bit. I just wanted to remember where I put the ant. Okay, so I'm going to put the snowman roughly under the center of my needle, and I'm going to drop this hoop down, and we're going to get it in there straight. And what's very important with these hoops, oh, I'm sorry, Brenda, I would like to be on Facebook and YouTube at the same time, but I still haven't started paying for StreamYard. I can only stream to one place at a time. So one of these days I'll start paying for it, and then I can stream to both YouTube and Facebook. So it's just right now I don't really need to pay for it, and I don't get paid a lot for classes, so I just use the free one. So I would like to stream to YouTube and Facebook at the same time. So thank you for joining us here on Facebook. Okay, so we got this kind of in here. I've got the needle roughly around the center. There's plenty of room because this would fit in an 8x8 hoop, just so you know. It does have to go in an 8x8 hoop. And I am using, I cut my applique pieces for my watermelons. This is the last one I have to do. And I cut them 6x8 so that they were plenty big enough to cover the whole thing and the little, drop of juice up here. Okay. And then I am using number 800 red thread right now. That's what I've got in my needle, in my bobbin right now. And then 509 leaf green and 900 black for this one. So I have a bobbin wound of each one of those. Okay. And we're ready to embroider. So I'm making sure, that is very important with these hoops. Make sure that all of the edges line up very well. Because if they're not lined up, you will get, your hoop will scooch. So make sure that you've got it all lined up and you can feel it along the edges. Okay. All right. Then of course, I'm going to take my snowman friend here. I'm going to hit layout. I'm going to find my snowman and okay, and scan. And we're going to scan to align our watermelon. If you are doing this without a snowman feature on your machine, just put that template in, put your plastic grid on, and line it up. I can do it just as easily that way. I do love the snowman though. Okay, so this afternoon my machine was acting wonky and it wasn't wanting to find my snowman, so he seems to be happy tonight. So remove the embroidery positioning mark. Okay, so we're all lined up. All right, so here is our watermelon. We can remove this now out of the center. Okay, I'm going to put it back on my paper over here. And I just leave the snowman on there. So, all right. And then we're going to start. The first thing that we have to do, of course, since the first thing that normally would sew would be that placement line on your stabilizer, we don't need that. This line right here that we were talking about that I cut 1/4 of an inch above it off the paper. Okay, we're going to get rid of that. So I'm going to hit the negative positive needle down here. Can't quite see it right there. And I'm going to go down to the second step, which is going to be my placement line for my watermelon. All right, so now we can do our watermelon. Get ready with our fabric. I just had my machine service, so it's so quiet compared to what it was. It's amazing when Ron gives it a good lubricant and cleans it out. And then I got my second machine, the one that I usually have at the store. I actually have my really old machine there right now, but I like to have. I had that one's clean too because it was really noisy. And yes, the little juice, like the little squirt of juice, will go up onto the border, just so you know. So don't be concerned that it went up there. All right, so now I got a little tail I'm gonna get rid of here. We're gonna lay our 6x8 piece of fabric down over this corner. And I kind of used the border to help me. One of my pieces of fabric was a little bit on the directional side, so I wanted it to look kind of straight. So I've been using the border up here to help me know that I'm straight, okay? And then step number 3, step number 3 is actually going to be the tack down line. Do that, and then we're going to trim our fabric down. Yeah, I like this fabric. I actually, all 4 of these reds, because was there 4 reds or 5 reds? 4 reds, I think. All of them came from Walmart, and so surprisingly enough, they all matched pretty well. You know, it's sometimes hard to match red, because red sometimes is, you know, there's so many shades of red that I struggle with reds matching. All right. So then we're going to trim our watermelon. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to switch my needle thread now because I'm going to run out of thread otherwise. So it's not quite done yet, but it's enough that I need to change it because I'll run out. So I'm just going to trim this. Excuse my hands. It's a little hard to trim in the hoop, but this one's kind of big. I don't like to take these magnetic hoops out of the machine any more than is necessary for fear of scooting the top piece. So I usually leave them in if I can. So I don't normally, can't see very well. Just a second, let me put my glasses on. My red thread really, really matches. So can't see the stitches very well. So I'm going to have to stand up for a minute to get part of this trimmed. I need to look and see what I need for the September. Yeah, September cutie, because it needs some browns and stuff because it's kind of a fall one. So I'm going up to Anamosa tomorrow, so maybe I can stop, and if I don't have enough, I'm going to see what I got tonight. I might need to get some fabric tomorrow while I'm up there because I need some. I don't have a lot of brown. It was kind of browns, and I want to say there might have been some orange in the owl. I can't remember what colors they used in it, but it's more of a fall one, so. Yeah, these turned out really cute. These were just ones I had in my stash. I had a whole bunch of reds, and I like red though. Had a whole bunch of reds, and I thought these looked really nice together, and they all pretty much matched, which, you know, like I said, is kind of a miracle in itself to get that many reds that are all about the same color. All right, and there's where the bite of the watermelon is out of there. Yeah, I do too. I like to pull it out normally, but when I'm with these hoops, I try not to take it out unless I have to. Yes, at my favorite Walmart store. Okay, so the next thing is going to be, it's going to do the satin stitch around the little juice squirt up here and then across the top of the watermelon. And I'm going to leave, whoops, a second here. I better change my thread quick because I know I'm going to run out like in about 10 stitches. I'll change. I have another spool of red thread, so I've only got just a little bit left. Have you ever tried to get rid of a spool thread and it just won't end? That's what's happening with this. There's just a little bit left on here, so I've got another one up here. We'll put that on for the rest of this. Okay. Second here, it's caught. There we go. All right. So we'll do this is going to be the decorative satin stitch on both the little squirt up here and the top part of the watermelon. And then we'll do the bottom part, and there's just going to be kind of a loose green zigzag around it. Yeah, I try not to take them out unless I have to. Now we are going to have to take it out because we need to change the bobbin thread. So I've got a couple of hints about that, and I'll explain as I'm going. Every hoop is different when you take them out of the machine. So sometimes what I tell people is, the little receiver that goes in over here, you can kind of see my hands. I try to put my fingers on that and pull back and try not to touch anything over on this side, because otherwise that's when you get that scooching problem. So I try not to touch any of this part over here. I had a little trouble though with the first one of these that I did, so that's why I decided to leave this extra fabric on this time. I normally can just trim it off, but for some reason this one was just a little bit bigger. The design's bigger and it had a lot of satin stitches in it, and so the hoop was moving a lot, so I decided just to leave it on so I wouldn't have a problem. So, and I love the little ants. So the ant is also an applique, and I used glitter vinyl. So we're going to use some black glitter vinyl on that. Yeah, you can do that, Donna. The hardest part is the actual getting it out of the machine. It's not where it's sitting. It's the actual getting it out of the machine, because what happens is, we naturally kind of grab it down here and pull. Well, we can't do that with these because they pull off. So I usually, I'll show you when I go to take this one out, because we'll have to here in a few minutes. But these magnetic hoops, I use them all the time. You just have to be a little careful. Yes, you can, Cindy. It is 8 inches, but my 8x8 that I tried to use just doesn't grab real tight. The 8x12 grabs tighter, and you might want to leave your extra fabric around the outside too. It'll help, and then you'll have something more to hang on to. So yeah, the 8x12 will work as well. I have all of these hoops. I've had them for a long time, and I really like all of them. I use them for different things, and I just, I use different sizes then. In fact, we're going to use the little 4x4 tonight because we're going to do the ant in the 4x4. So yes, you just have to be careful with the sliding part. So I'll show you a couple tricks when we take this out. I think this has been my favorite table topper. It does take a while, I will tell you. You're gonna, I worked most of the afternoon on getting the other 3 watermelons done, and like most of the ants. So it took me most of the afternoon. So it will take a little longer to embroider this one, just because of all the extra stuff. And then the ruching takes a little time, but it's not hard. It just takes a little time. So just be patient with it. So it's been very quiet here today. I haven't had too much loud music next door, And so it was very quiet, and I was just enjoying sitting here working on my sewing machine this afternoon. I like the quiet on Sundays. All right, so then the next part is going to be the green. This is 800, the Brother 800 red that I'm using here. And then the green is 509 leaf green. Okay, so this is when I'm going to take this out. So this is where you want to be careful. And what I do is I lift this, a little flipper over here, okay? And then right back here, if you grab a hold, there's the gray thing that is attached to the thing that goes into the machine. If you push back on that, like this, very carefully, then you're not pulling anything over here, see? So I'm just going to grab that, and I'm going to have to slide this out and slide it forward. So I try not to grab the top of the hoop at all and just slide it forward. Now we're going to put the green thread in, since we'll be doing that. Whoops, next a second here. There's my bobbin. So this is the 509 leaf green. Okay, get the, oops, second here. Got something stuck here. And then this is going to be the bottom part of the watermelon that'll go underneath the little ruched rind that we're going to make here in a few minutes. So yeah, so I've had a nice quiet day today. I like to hang out at home in the quiet. All right, so then when I bring this back, then I'm going to grab it from the green thing that slides into the hoop. I'm going to pull it back, and I've got a hold of that, not the hoop, okay? And I'm going to hold it underneath. I'm going to put my hand underneath just to steady it, and then I'm going to push it in here from here. I'm pushing in on the thing that goes into the hoop, not the hoop itself, okay? Like that, because then you're more likely to have no problems. All right, so now we've got our green thread in for this step and the green thread in the bobbin. And this is going to be where our rind is going to go on our watermelon. And then we're going to do one more step. There's still one more step. We're going to put the little seeds in here. Yeah, so with these hoops, some of the hoops, it's easier to get a hold of that piece that slides in and out than others. Like the bigger ones are a little harder, but the smaller ones have more of a little lip on them like this. So it's easier to get a hold of them. Like the 4x4, when I bring it out, you'll see how much easier it is. Because it sticks out just a little bit further, and it's a little easier to get a hold of. And then we'll put the black thread in the bobbin for the seeds. Now you could use, if you wanted to, black bobbin thread for the black. Sometimes I do, but otherwise I'd have to change my bobbin cases. Yes, there is a 4x4 magnetic hoop, and I will be using that in a few minutes, and I'll show it to you. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to reach back here, and I'm going to get a hold of the hoop and pull this out, pull it out with the receiver part, and then I'm going to slide this forward. Okay, now we're going to put the black. Oop, I just lost my table topper. It's on the floor now. All right, we'll put the black in. I've always got something on the floor, it seems like. And then I'm going to grab back here. I've got a hold of the receiver, and I'm just going to bring it back. I'm going to get it lined up. Okay. And then I'm going to push in on the receiver over here. I've just got my thumb on the receiver, and I'm going to push it in. So you just want to be careful. Okay. So I got my black bobbin thread in there. Oh yeah, they have lots of sizes, Cindy. I mean, like they have basically every single hoop that we have for our machines, they make in Dime makes for Brother Baby Locks. So there's a 4x4, 5x7, 6x10, 6x6 now. There's a brand new 6x6, and I actually have that one too. I just got it the other day because it just came out about, a couple of months ago. let's see, 6x6, 8x8, 8x12, 6x10, 9x9, 9.5 by 9.5, 9.5 by 14, 10.5 by 16, and 10.5 by 10.5. So basically every single hoop we have. The last one they made was the 6x6 because that one had not been come out yet. And my friend Judy loves that hoop. She uses it all the time. And she was like, I wish they had a magnetic one. Well, they do now. So it just came out. All right. So I've got my black bobbin thread in here and my black thread in the needle. And now we're going to do the little seeds. Teresa, do you use the? Yes, I do actually. I use the 4x4 quite a bit, and I use the 5x7 quite a bit, more than you think for. I still do a lot of small designs, and like this little ant worked perfect in the 4x4. So I like to use, so this is the deal with hoops. You know, yes, you can always use a larger hoop, but the design is going to be the most stable in the smallest hoop it will fit in. So obviously, as you can see, this little ant is pretty small. Okay, so the most stable it's going to be is in the 4x4 hoop because that's the smallest hoop it will fit in. So I usually use the 5x7 too a lot, Maureen. Yeah. So anyway, we're going to use the 4x4 here in a minute. Some of you may have never seen that one. But I even use it for quilting. I use it for, if I have little small designs, I use my 4x4 and my 5x7 all the time. In fact, when we did May Your Days Be Merry and Bright, we did most of the quilting around the border in the 5x7 hoop. So, in fact, and then the set and the corners could be done in the 4x4. We did those in the 4x4. So, yeah, I use those smaller ones all the time. But just remember the most stable anything is going to be is in the smallest hoop it'll fit in. So, if you have bigger hoops and you're doing quite a lot of small things, you might want to invest in a couple smaller hoops because then things will be more stable. Yes, you can use the 6x6 in your 3500D, Cindy, and it would also work in your other machine. You said you had a bigger one now too, and it would, yep, and it would work in that too. But the 6x6 just came out. In fact, it's still in the box. I just brought it home about a week or two ago. I haven't even gotten it out of the box yet to get it. Okay, so there's my seeds. Look at there. All right, so we got that done, and this is where my ant's going to be, so we'll take this pin out in a minute. Okay, so there is our watermelon. We did it. So we'll take this out. In a second, I got thread all over the place here. Take this out. And there is the fourth watermelon. Okay, so you will continue and go around do all four of them. So I see I've already done all my other ones today. Yep, and it'll work in the 3500 as well, Cindy. So you can use them in either machine. Yep. So it's nice to have that 6x6 because that is a size I actually use quite often. Because I like the square hoops because I do quite a bit of like quilty stuff, and I like the square hoops. All right, let me get this little tail out of here. Okay, so there's our last watermelon. Okay, so now we're going to move on and do the ant. So the ant is just this little tiny design, and what I did for the ants is I just looked at the picture here. Let me find the picture of it here. I think it's on the page before here, just a minute. They kind of split the pictures up. Here we go. So what I did is I just kind of looked at the picture in the book to kind of see where they put the ants, and I just kind of followed that as a guideline, and you can put them anywhere you want. So I'm ready to put the last ant right here, okay, by this watermelon. Like I said, I don't know that I really want to have ants on my table topper because of all the ants I've had in my house, but Okay, so then what I did is I cut this and made it, I can't remember how long this was. Let me find something to measure with here. I made it just shy of 2 inches wide, because this is going to end up being 2 inches finished, because this was a 2.5 inch border. So it'll be 2 inches finished with the binding, and we didn't want our ant in the binding. So I made this about 2 inches, which is like your finished size. And I just been using the top of this little template that I printed out and put it along the edge of my border. So I'm going to put my ant, doesn't matter. You can just put them anywhere you want, but I just been using my border though to help me get them all so that they're all about the same height, you know, and then they're not going to be down here in my binding. Okay. So I'm going to push that on there. I just got a piece of tape on this one. It was just on a piece of regular paper. All right, let me get rid of that pin before we hit it on something. And then let me grab my little hoop. All right, so here's the 4x4 snap hoop. So as you can see, this one has a little bit more you can grab onto over here, see? And we have to take it out. Now I still have my black thread in my bobbin, and since our ants are going to be black, we'll just leave that in. And I'll slide this in here. Okay. And I'm going to go over here and get my ant design. So this is the watermelon design that we've already done. Oh dear, now it's mad. Just a minute. There we go. Made the machine mad. There we go. All right. Then we're going to go back to embroidery, and we're going to go find the ant in the Kimberbell Cuties. And the ant. There we go. So here's our ant. And I think I put 6 ants on mine. Just kind of randomly placed them. And I looked at like I said, I looked at the picture to kind of see where they had theirs. So we're going to hit set here. Okay, and embroidery. Okay, so now let's go ahead and I'm going to do the same thing with my ant. I'm going to kind of slip him underneath. I've got the bottom already in the machine, and I'm going to lay the little snowman right under, second here, right under the needle. And this one you're going to have to be fairly accurate because the hoop is plenty big enough, but you don't want to be like super duper crooked or super up or down with it. So I just kind of try to get it as close as I can. Okay. And I'm going to bring my top in. Now this one is very important again to get it lined up. So see, I can tell that my edge is way over here. So I'm going to slide it over, and I'm going to make sure all these edges are very straight. Now I am a little off, but it's not so off that I'll have a problem because that design's only about 2 inches. So I should be fine. I'm just a teeny bit to the left, but I should be okay. All right. So I'm going to make sure that's stuck down, make sure that my hoop is well lined up. And then we're going to come over here and we're going to use our snowman again. Okay. And then we're going to hit scan right down here and okay. And it's going to scan and find our snowman. But I use this quite often, and these little hoops, even though they're small, if you've got small designs, they are very stable in there. So there it looks like you found him. I'll have to get I've got my black thread still in my needle too, and in my bobbin. I've got the sleepies tonight though. It's quite cool out, 55 degrees. All right, it says remove the embroidery positioning mark. So it found our center. So here's our little guy. And I just put him on where I thought he looked good. I'm going to take this out. Okay. And then we're going to do our ant. So I'm just going to make sure everything's lined up well on this. I think everything feels good. Okay. And then we're just going to go ahead and do our placement line. So the first thing is going to be our placement line. Oh, a second here. Let me hit my button up here so I can see it. There we go. And we're going to use glitter vinyl for this. So when we use the glitter vinyl, I thought he needed to have a little bit of sparkle. Okay, so there's our placement line. And then I'm going to lay my, and I've taken that plastic, you know, that clear plastic carrier sheet is off of my glitter vinyl. So this is the glitter. I'm just going to lay it over my ant here. And I'm just going to hold it in place. You can tape it if you want to. I'm just going to hold it. Yeah, it's been pretty chilly here all day. It was actually warmer this morning when I got up. I ran up to the post or to the mailboxes to try to retrieve my package that had disappeared. Our post office here has a little trouble getting things in the right box, so I finally found it. All right, so now we need to trim this. So I'm going to pull this, take the little lever up, and I'm going to pull this out so I can see what I'm trimming. I've got my glasses on so I can see. And we're going to trim this glitter vinyl just like regular applique fabric. It's very matchy with the black. It's harder now because it's darker in here than it was earlier today. It really kind of got, it's been a little dreary all day, but it got darker as the day went on. All right, just a second here. We're getting in there. Got a little bit of triangle down here. Got to get up. There we go. Okay, so there is our ant. Now, when we do our glitter vinyl, remember we do need to press this down so that it adheres to the fabric. Otherwise, it might kind of pook in the center. That's my technical term. So I've got my little Mickey Mouse ironing pad here that has the ironing fabric on one side, and then we did this in a class. So this is actually up on the group. So if you don't have one of these little ironing pads, you'd like to make one, I've got the pattern for you to make one on the group in the Dropbox for the group. So this little ironing pad, it won't have the Mickey Mouse, but it has the rest of it, so you can make it. So I'm going to slide this up, and I'm going to slide this underneath there. And I've got a little pressing cloth here, so I don't have to take it all the way out of the machine. I got my little pressing cloth. I'm going to cover up my ant. And then I love this little iron because, look, I can get it even in this little bitty hoop. That's why I looked and looked until I could find a small iron that I could get into my hoop. No storms today. It just kind of was drizzly today. All right. So there, I have pressed on my ant. I'm going to let him cool a little bit. Always use a pressing cloth, though, because you don't want to burn your heat transfer vinyl, okay? And then I'm going to pull this little ironing pad out. Okay, so that's nice when you want to be able to do just a little ironing on the machine. You should never iron on your machine. You don't want to damage it. So that little ironing pad is pretty awesome. Okay, then we're going to slide this back in. And I'm going to just leave the black thread in there. Okay. Everything's still nice and lined up. And then we're going to continue sewing. It's going to do his little antenna and his legs, and then do the satin stitch on our ant. And like I said, I put 6 ants on mine. You could do as many as you want. If you want them all the way around, or if you just want a couple on there. I just looked at the picture and kind of did it like they did. But they turned out cute. I love the glitter vinyl because it just gave it a little bit of sparkle. And it's going to do a little satin stitch. And then we're going to move on to ruching. Hi, Terry. Yeah, it's just been kind of rainy all day. It hasn't rained a lot. It's just been kind of piddly, you know, but just enough to be kind of, I just stayed in today, and I did find my package though. My package said it was delivered, and it was delivered evidently to someone else's box, or the key to the parcel box that we have here was put in somebody else's box. So when I got up there, I thought yesterday it wasn't there. And I thought, well, I'll have to go to the post office. Well, guess what? I went up there today. And I thought, you know what? I wonder if somebody found it today. You know, I was there pretty early yesterday after the mail came in. I thought, I'll just go up and see. Sure enough, somebody had found the box, and it was just sitting on the sidewalk next to the building up there. My box was sitting up there. So I'm glad that it was still there. I was surprised actually that it was still there. So I did get it. Oh yeah, I like the glitter, don't you? It just gives it a little bit of, you know, a little bit of shine. Okay, so there's our ant. And I did 6 ants, so I'll pull this out so you can see. Okay. And I haven't done all my clipping back here yet. I'll do that later. So I did 1 here on this side and 1 down at the other end. Okay. And then I did 1 on this side, did a couple on this side, and I did 1 on this side. So I did a total of 6. All right. So I have all my little ants on there. Okay. So like I said, it does take a little bit longer to do this one because there's quite a little bit of embroidery. So just take your time, have fun doing the ants and putting them on. You don't have to put them on if you don't want to. All right, so now we're going to move on to the ruching. So give me a second here, and I'll explain how I did the ruching. Now in the instructions, it tells you to, let's get my hoop out of here for a second so we can see what we're doing. In the instructions, I believe it tells you to cut those pieces 3/4 of an inch by 18. Okay, so when you do ruching, and they were doing a raw edge technique, so they just cut the fabric 3/4 of an inch wide. But what I did so I could do ruching is I cut mine 1.5 inches, and I had some yardage. So I cut 2 strips the width of the fabric by 1.5 inches. Because when you do ruching, you actually make bias tape. So mine still ended up being 3/4 of an inch wide, but I cut it 1.5 inches wide and made bias tape. So you can see it's folded under, and the raw edges are underneath. Okay, so that way that raw edge is not going to show. It's going to be glued to the top of my table topper, and so it makes it much cleaner looking. Okay, so what I did, let me show you here, trying to find it. You can use a bias tape maker, and I'll show you I use one of these electric bias tape makers. I love this bias tape maker. They're very hard to find now because they don't make them anymore. And see, I have this little tip that's 3/4 of an inch, and it folded it in, and you can use a hand one too. Okay, so you can use a hand tip also, and just use an iron to make your bias tape. But I've had this for years, and I have all these different tips. This is how I made mine with my little electric one, and it was made by Simplicity. So I love that. And I make all my binding with that too. Do you glue the edges down? Yes. So I glued these down. I'm going to do it for you so you can see it. So what I did is I just left the ends. So I made my bias tape. Okay. The raw edges are underneath together on the bottom. And then what I did is I went to the sewing machine and I put it on a long straight stitch. So this is like at 5 millimeters. I made a real long, just like I was going to do, like you were going to do that, just do a long gather. Okay, so I put it on 5. And then when you do ruching, what you do, and if you can see, I think you can see it. You can see that I went from here and I just made like triangles back and forth from edge to edge. And I just went all the way down. And in most of their instructions for ruching, you can see here what I've done. They tell you to do this by hand, but I don't care for handwork. So I do this. I always do this on the sewing machine. So I just go back and forth, I just turn it like this and make my little triangles. So you're just going from edge to edge. So can you see the little triangles that I made? And if they're not perfect, it's fine, because neither is a watermelon rind. Okay. So you can see I just did all the way down, and I just left the ends raw like this. And we'll turn these under so that we don't see this raw edge on the end. Okay. All right. So now to make the ruching, after you get all your stitching on there with the long stitches, I'm going to tie one end of this in a knot. And oh, and the other thing I'd tell you is this is a really good Mettler polyester thread, which is strong. Okay. You could use your embroidery thread too. The embroidery thread is pretty strong also, like the Brother or the Floriani thread. Okay. No, I did not glue it on the back, Cindy. I didn't glue it back here. This is just ironed down with my bias tape maker, and so you can see it's open here. See where the edges are open, but they come together on the back, and then I'm going to be gluing it to here, so then it's going to be glued down and it'll be fine. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to tie this in a good knot on one end, making several knots. Okay. And then we're going to take the other end. Now I would tell you, just be careful when you're pulling, because we are just using one piece of thread. Just slowly start gathering. And when you do the little zigzag, the little V's or the little triangles like this, it makes it ruche. And that's what ruching is like, it's that type of gathering. So see, it looks straight down the middle, but then the sides look like little curves. So just start working at it. Don't work at it, don't pull too hard, because remember, this is just one piece of thread, but it's always worked pretty well for me. I do use good polyester thread to do this instead of using cotton thread, because cotton thread's pretty, pretty gentle. It needs to be, it's not as strong as polyester thread. So pulling on that would be hard. But the ruching is so much prettier than the way they did their original one with the raw edges. I just don't care for raw edges showing, and I just thought this is so much cuter. And yes, it does take a little while, but you hold the top or the bottom. I've got the top thread. I've got the top thread. So I'm just pulling it down. Isn't that cool how it turns out? And you just keep working it down until you, and then and what I did then when I cut the two pieces, so I started to tell you, I cut the two pieces that were 1.5 inches by the width of the fabric, and then I made them into bias tape, and then I just cut them each piece in half, so it's like 22 inches each piece. See, okay, so I got out of those two with the fabric strips, I got my 4 pieces of ruching. So I cut those in half. So they're about 22 inches long or 21 inches long, something like that. All right, so I'm working it down. It takes a little bit. You just have to kind of be gentle with it and work it down. I had to get up and take a break. I did a couple of these this afternoon, and then I got up and took a break. And all right. What is there going to be? Yes, there will be we're going to have some retreats in the Davenport store, Terry, but not until June. We hope in June, because Lynn is going to be gone on vacation in May. And that's why we decided to try it in Iowa City first. And then we'll do Davenport also. So hopefully at the end of May. Or end of June, I'm sorry. I know it looks like puffy rickrack. Yes, that's kind of what it looks like, is puffy rickrack. And I've actually seen ruched ribbon that you can buy. So you may be able to go to Joann's or someplace and find ruched ribbon so that you wouldn't have to do this. But it is kind of pretty to have the matching, fabric that I used in my design. I use this green in the center too, and on the outside edges. So I wanted it to match my pieces. So, okay, so I'm getting down there. It's getting there. Just be careful. Just be gentle while you're working with it. Second, I got my other thread I got to get a hold of here. There we go. Get it worked down to the end here. There we go. We're getting there. With my luck, I'll break a thread, you know, while I'm on live. You know how it goes. I did pretty well this afternoon. All right. So work our way down. Now, what I want to do at the end here, this is the tail end of it. I'm going to trim these threads off. Get my scissors here. Okay, I'm just going to trim those ends off that I tied. And then I'm going to take my glue gun and I'm going to glue that raw end over on the bottom because I don't want that raw end to show. Okay, so I'm just going to put a little glue on there. Maybe. Just won't come out. There we go. And then I'm going to just turn this over to the back like this so that it won't show. Because we don't want any raw edges showing like that. Okay. And I think we're getting close to being about the right length here. So then what you have to do is you have to just kind of, you know, guesstimate the length that you need. Okay, so I'm going to see here. I think it's still a little bit long. Okay, so then I'll be gluing this up here and then bringing it down and around. And I think it's just a little bit too long yet, so we'll just keep gathering a little bit more. I do have a small glue gun, Teresa. This is a little Gorilla Glue gun. It's orange. I think I got it at Walmart. And they have a bigger one, but I really love these little ones. I've got 2 or 3 of these little ones now because I keep them all over the place. I have one at work, and I have one in here, and I have one in in the kitchen. And so, okay, so we're getting closer. Let's see how we are doing here. So we'll look at this. Let's see how we are lengthwise now. So I'm just kind of holding it around the edge here. We're getting pretty close. Let me pull it down a little bit more. Kind of distribute my gathers a little bit. Okay, so let's see how we are here. Okay, I think we're pretty good. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and tie this off. I'm going to make it just a little teeny bit longer because I think I got a little over exuberant here. So let me check it again. Yeah, it should be okay. And then we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to tie this off at the end. Oops. I've got really long threads, so I'm going to, oops, got glue on me too. I'm going to cut these threads off so it's easier to tie. Got these really long threads. What batting did I use? I use Hobbs 80-20 batting. That's my favorite batting to use. It's got just a little loft in it, but it's not stiff. I don't care for Mormon Natural. It gets very stiff. So I'm just going to tie this now. I put quite a few knots in there. Okay. And then let's check the length again and see how we're doing. Go around here and up and over, and yep, I think we can bring this down then. And I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm just going to wait a second. I might go ahead and start gluing, and then I'll glue the end over just to make sure I've got it the right length. So, okay. So what I'll do then, I glued the end over here so that it would not show the raw edge. I got just a little bit sticking out, so I'll just cut it off. And then we're going to start gluing over here. Okay. A little closer for you. I'm going to go ahead and just glue a little bit here at the tip and down just a little bit. And then get it started. Like that. Okay. And then see with this method, all the raw edges are going to be underneath and they're going to be glued down, so you're never going to see them, see? So I like that I don't like those raw edges showing. The other method was cute the way it was done, but I don't like raw edges on everything. They kind of ravel a lot. And I'm just putting the glue right on the green right here. You might be able to do that. I think it might be just as hard, but then you're going to see the white a lot. Unless you got it underneath somehow, you might be able to do it that way. This is all the way I've always done ruching. I've done ruching quite a few times, and this is the way I've always done it. Okay. So then I'm going to come up here. Whoops, let's get some of these threads out of here. Everything's stuck to me tonight. We're going to go up this way. And then I'm going to turn this under. So let's see what we got for length here. Just need to turn it under a little bit. Okay. So now I'm going to put my glue on this end. I know I love these old Simplicity bias tape makers. I have 3 of them and I will never sell any of them. I'll just use them until they die because you can't get them anymore. I love them. I make my binding with them too. All right. So then I've got that side done. Let's see how that looks. I think we'll be okay now. Yeah, I think that looks good. All right. Isn't that cute? And it just, the gathering, like I said, it's not hard. It's just a little tedious. So just take your time. I mean, I sat here this afternoon and made ruching, you know, but it sure does make the little table topper, doesn't it? Take that little extra bit and make it, it's just so cute with the ruching on it. And you don't see any raw edges this way. Okay. Oh, I don't know that they are. I have never seen them come back. They've been stopped making the bias tape makers for many years. I mean, you can get hand ones that you can just use with an iron, and then they work fine too. But the Simplicity ones, I wish they would make them again because they are awesome. Because I'm worried that mine's going to die. Like I said, I've got 3 of them. I'm worried that they're going to die someday and I won't be able to get another one. So. All right. What do you think? Would you sew the ruching? No, nope. I just glue it. You can if you want to. If you're going to be washing these a lot, you know, my stuff just doesn't get washed. And yes, so if you were going to wash this, I would probably use like Collins tape or something, tape the ruching down, and then I would go through with the same color thread and just drive down the middle of it. If you're going to be washing them all the time, you know, I just don't wash any of my stuff really. It's for display. So yes, I would just sew this down through here. You can just go down and use like Collins tape or double sticky tape just so you can get it in there that you can sew through and then just sew around it. So yes, you could do that too. So there you go. All right, so we've got all of our little ruching done. Isn't that fun to do that though? And it turns out so cute. So I got all my little watermelons and my little ants. So now I'm going to go ahead and trim this off. I'll go ahead and trim it later, and then I'll be getting ready to do the binding. And the binding on this one, let's see if I can find my binding. Where I put it? Here it is. I'm going to use the same. I'm going to use the little polka dots. I put the bigger polka dots on the back, and then I put the little ones on the binding too. So I'll have my binding ready, and I'll make this with my bias tape maker too. So, but yeah, I do love the ruching. But yeah, definitely sew it down if you're going to be washing these all the time, because you don't want, I know the hot glue actually kind of does, as long as you don't put it in the dryer, it does kind of wash, but doesn't do very well in the dryer. So it comes off. So I know, doesn't it cute with just a little extra dimension on it? So I thought this has been a really fun project. This one, like I said, it takes a little while. It took me most of the afternoon to work on it. I did the other 3 this afternoon, so I'd be ready for tonight. And it does take a little while, but they are awfully cute. So, all right. So we have to do our drawing yet. And remember, next week we're going to have software. So we're going to make our little pin cushions next week. The bias tape maker. Oh, did you not see it? Let's see here. Somebody asked what the bias tape. Oh, Jan. Yeah, Jan, I have a Simplicity bias tape maker. Let me hold this out here. So it's in a box like this. And it has the little tips, and then it has a little motor in it, and it makes bias tape and binding. So I have all the different tips for it. And these have been gone now for quite a while. I hope they do make them again sometime because they are very, very handy. I mean, these are just like awesome. And I have 3 of these. I've ended up with 3 of them, and I'll just keep them until they just stop working. So, oh, the rolled flowers were ahead. That's good. Oh, yeah, because your little signs were so cute, Marianne. They were really cute. So, okay. So let me get my camera back up here, and we'll have our drawing for our prize. So make sure you've said something so that you can get entered in to win. And if you are away from here and you win, make sure that you personal message me through Facebook your mailing address so that I can mail your gift to you. Okay, just a second. Let me get the other microphone. Okay. All right, so we're going to have, this is our prize this week, it's a sew pillow cover. And this one is a standard size, so it fits in a 12 by 16 pillow form. So you can just go to like Hobby Lobby and find one. Okay. And so this is the prize this time. All right. So it says sew. All right. I got to find my tablet here. Just a minute. Got to get a hold of it. All right. I'm not looking. I'm just going to pick a name. Okay. All right. Let's see who it is. It is Marilyn Munt. Marilyn Munt. So Marilyn, oh, where is Gigi? Well, Marilyn, you have won the gift tonight. You won the gift tonight. So, and I saw you. You've said things a couple times on here. I'm not sure where your name was. I just twirled it again. But Marilyn Munt. So Marilyn, are you able to come down to the store to pick it up, or do you need me to mail it? If you need it mailed, just personal message me your address if you need it mailed. I know that but I wasn't sure if you were feeling up to coming down to the store or not. So you can let me know. Okay. All right. So Marilyn won the sew. Okay. And then somebody else had a question. What was the question that I just saw go past a little bit? Did the glue the edges down? Let's see. A second. There was another question that I saw. Oh, must not have been. Okay. So I will be back next week. We'll make our pin cushion. And then we will have a week off for Memorial Day weekend. So we're all going to be busy with doing different things and going. I always go to all the cemeteries and do the flowers and everything. So I enjoy that too. So, all right. So Marilyn, you let me know if you want it mailed or if you want to come pick it up at the store. Oh, where was Gigi? Yeah, where's Gigi? Gigi is in the kitchen because Mommy shut the door. She's been out here walking all over me all afternoon. So I decided I didn't need that while we were having class. So she's sitting in the kitchen looking very forlorn right now. So I'll go out and give her a treat and then she'll be happy. So, all right. So everybody have a good the rest of your Mother's Day. And I will see you next week for a little software class. Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening.